Chosen one, listen carefully. This message did not reach you by accident. If you are watching this right now, understand this clearly. Your presence here is not random. Something about you confuses people. They look at you and think you're inexperienced. They assume you're easy to manipulate. They underestimate you because you don't look worn down by life. But what they don't realize is this: your youthfulness is not weakness. It is protection. You've walked through things that should have aged your spirit, yet you still carry light in your eyes. You've survived battles that were meant to break you, but instead, they refined you. And that's why people misjudge you. They see your calm, your softness, your peaceful energy, and they mistake it for naivety. But God knows the truth. You're not young because life has been easy. You're young because He preserved you. There were moments meant to harden you, to make you bitter, to drain your spirit, but you didn't let them win. You healed. You grew, and now you stand with wisdom far beyond your years. That's why people test you. That's why they underestimate you. They don't realize that behind your calm is experience, discernment, and divine protection. You didn't stay gentle because you were weak. You stayed gentle because you are strong enough to carry peace in a chaotic world. And now, the season has shifted. Those who thought you were easy are about to realize they misjudged you completely. Because the same grace that kept you soft also made you powerful. So before you go any further, pause for a moment. To align yourself with this message, do 3 things. First, like this video to seal the energy. Second, comment, "Thank you, God, for protecting me," to activate what's already moving in your favor. And finally, subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next will confirm everything you're starting to feel right now. This message found you for a reason, and the truth is, they never saw you coming. They mistook your calm for weakness. They mistook your calm for weakness. And that's something you've probably experienced more than once. You don't raise your voice easily. You don't argue just to prove a point. You don't jump into drama or react to every little thing. Because of this, people often assume you don't understand what's happening around you. They think you're unaware, inexperienced, or too soft for the real world. But what they don't see is the truth behind your silence. Your calm didn't come from comfort. It came from experience. It came from moments when you had no choice but to stay strong inside while everything around you felt uncertain. You've seen conflict. You've felt disappointment. You've faced situations that forced you to grow faster than you wanted to. And instead of letting those moments make you bitter, you learned something far more powerful: control. You learned that not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every opinion deserves your response. Not every person deserves access to your emotions. That kind of understanding doesn't come from books or advice. It comes from being tested by life itself. When you've been through enough, you stop wasting energy trying to prove yourself. You begin to protect your peace instead. People often misunderstand that kind of calm. They assume silence means confusion. They mistake patience for weakness. But in reality, silence is where clarity lives. You're not quiet because you have nothing to say. You're quiet because you're choosing when and where your energy belongs. You understand that reacting to everything only drains you, while staying centered keeps you strong. There were moments when you could have defended yourself, explained your side, or fought back. But you chose not to. Not because you were afraid, but because you knew that some battles only take from you and give nothing in return. You learned that walking away is sometimes the strongest move you can make. What others don't realize is that your calm is actually confidence in disguise. You trust yourself. You trust your understanding of situations. You don't need to prove your worth loudly because you've already proven it quietly through growth. While others seek validation, you seek peace. While others react emotionally, you respond with awareness. And that's why some people misjudge you. They can't imagine strength that doesn't shout. They don't understand stability that doesn't demand attention. They confuse silence with weakness because they've never learned how powerful self-control can be. But you know the truth. Your calm is earned. It's the result of lessons learned, boundaries built, and maturity gained. It's the sign of someone who has faced life, felt the pressure, and still chose to move forward with grace. Your youthful energy confuses people. Your youthful energy confuses people, and most of them don't even realize why. When they look at you, they expect to see exhaustion, bitterness, or heaviness, the usual marks life leaves on people over time. But instead, they see light. They see warmth in your eyes. They see a sense of calm that doesn't match the struggles you've been through, and that's what unsettles them. Not because you're pretending, but because you chose a different way of carrying your experiences. You've been through things that could have hardened your heart, situations that could have made you angry, cold, or closed off. But somewhere along the way, you made a quiet decision. You refused to let pain turn you into someone you're not. You allowed yourself to heal instead of becoming bitter. That choice alone takes immense strength, even though most people don't recognize it as such. Many people believe that suffering must leave visible scars. They expect pain to show on your face, in your tone, in the way you treat others. So when they see you still gentle, still respectful, still able to laugh, they get confused. They assume you must not have faced much. But the truth is, you faced plenty. You just didn't let it steal your softness. Your kindness isn't weakness, it's discipline. It takes courage to remain open-hearted in a world that often rewards coldness. It takes strength to keep believing in goodness when you've seen how cruel life can be. And it takes wisdom to know that being kind doesn't mean being naive. You've learned where to draw boundaries. You've learned who deserves access to your energy and who doesn't. People often mistake softness for a lack of backbone because they confuse loudness with strength. But real strength doesn't need to announce itself. It's quiet, it's steady, it's the ability to stay grounded even when emotions run high around you. That's why people sometimes feel unsettled in your presence. Your calm exposes their chaos. You've learned to protect your peace without closing your heart. You listen, but you don't absorb everything. You care, but you don't carry what isn't yours. That balance didn't come easily. It was built through reflection, pain, and growth. And now it shows in the way you move through the world with grace. Some people will never understand how you stayed kind after everything you've been through. They don't need to. Your journey was never meant to be explained. It was meant to be lived. The light you carry is not naive, it's earned. And the fact that you still shine says more about your strength than any hardened exterior ever could. Your softness is not a weakness. It's proof that you survived and still chose love. And that, in a world that often rewards hardness, is a rare and powerful kind of strength. They thought you were easy to manipulate. They thought you were easy to manipulate, not because you were weak, but because you were calm. You listened more than you spoke. You didn't rush to defend yourself. You didn't raise your voice or react emotionally. To people who are used to chaos, that kind of behavior looks like an open door. They assumed you wouldn't notice what was happening. They thought you were unaware, unguarded, and easy to control. But what they never understood is that silence does not mean blindness. You were paying attention the whole time. You were watching patterns, not words. You noticed how people treated you when they thought you weren't paying attention. You observed who respected your boundaries and who slowly tried to cross them. While they thought they were testing you, you were simply learning who they really were. You didn't confront them immediately because you didn't need to. You understand that reactions give people power, and you chose not to hand that power away. Instead of reacting emotionally, you stayed composed. You let people reveal their intentions naturally. That quiet awareness gave you clarity most people never reach. Some mistook your kindness for permission. They assumed your politeness meant tolerance. They pushed a little further each time, expecting no consequences. But what they failed to understand is that kindness and boundaries can exist together. You can be gentle and still firm. You can be respectful and still know when enough is enough. When the moment came, you didn't argue. You didn't create drama. You didn't explain yourself endlessly. You simply stepped back. You withdrew your energy, and that's what shocked them the most. They never expected you to walk away so calmly, so completely, and without looking back. Your silence after that wasn't weakness. It was finality. It was the sound of someone who knows their worth and refuses to be treated less than they deserve. You didn't need closure from them because you had already found clarity within yourself. What they thought was control was actually just your patience running its course. When your patience ended, so did their access to you, and that's when they realized something important. You were never easy to manipulate. You were simply observing, learning, and waiting for the moment when distance became the healthiest choice. Now, when they think about you, they feel confused. They replay conversations. They wonder when things changed. But the truth is, nothing changed suddenly. You just stopped tolerating what was never meant for you. You didn't leave loudly. You didn't seek revenge. You chose peace. And that quiet decision spoke louder than any argument ever could. Your silence made them underestimate you. Your silence made people underestimate you. Not because you lacked something, but because you chose not to show everything you were becoming. You didn't announce your growth. You didn't post every lesson or speak about every struggle. You simply kept moving forward quietly, letting life shape you while others were too busy talking to notice the change happening inside you. While people were busy explaining themselves, proving points, or complaining about what wasn't working, you were observing. You were listening more than speaking. You were learning from every situation, every mistake, every disappointment. That quiet phase wasn't emptiness, it was preparation. You were building understanding, patience, and emotional strength without making noise about it. Many people confuse loudness with progress. They believe growth must be visible, dramatic, and constantly announced. But real growth often happens in silence. It happens when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, and when you're simply trying to become better than you were yesterday. That's the kind of growth you chose, the kind that changes you from the inside out. You didn't need to explain your healing because it wasn't meant for public approval. You were learning to let go of things that no longer served you. You were unlearning old reactions and building healthier responses. And while others were busy reacting to every emotion, you were learning how to pause, reflect, and respond with clarity. People often misunderstand silence. They think it means weakness, confusion, or defeat. But in your case, silence was discipline. It was you choosing peace over chaos. It was you protecting your energy instead of wasting it on situations that no longer deserved your attention. You weren't avoiding growth. You were embracing it quietly. Over time, the change became visible. The way you carried yourself shifted. Your reactions softened. Your decisions became calmer and more intentional. And that's when people started noticing something different about you. They couldn't quite explain it, but they could feel it. A sense of maturity, confidence, and inner balance. Some were surprised, some were confused. They remembered the version of you that stayed quiet, that didn't push back, that didn't demand attention. They didn't realize that silence was never weakness. It was preparation. While they were busy judging or overlooking you, you were becoming stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Now, when they look at you, they see someone who has outgrown old patterns, someone who doesn't chase validation, someone who moves with purpose instead of reaction. Your growth didn't need an announcement because it speaks through your presence. You didn't change overnight. You evolved steadily, quietly, and intentionally. And that's why your transformation feels so powerful, because it came from within. You didn't need noise to become who you are. You needed awareness, patience, and the courage to grow in silence. And now, the same silence they once underestimated has become the very reason they can't ignore you anymore. You carry wisdom beyond your years. You carry wisdom far beyond your years, and it shows in everything you do. Life introduced you to lessons early. Lessons about trust, disappointment, patience, and strength. While others were still learning through trial and error, you were already being shaped by experiences that forced you to grow faster than expected. Those moments didn't break you, they refined you. Because of what you've been through, you don't react the way most people do. When something goes wrong, you don't panic. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't rush to defend yourself. You pause, you observe, you choose your response carefully. That calmness isn't accidental. It's the result of understanding how quickly emotions can cloud judgment. You've learned that clarity is far more powerful than reaction. Your experiences taught you how to read situations deeply. You notice tone, energy, and intention, not just words. You sense when something feels off, even if nothing is being said. This awareness didn't come easily. It was earned through moments of confusion, disappointment, and reflection. Over time, you learned to trust your intuition because it proved itself again and again. Because of this, people often feel exposed around you. Not because you judge them, but because your presence encourages honesty. When you're around, pretenses feel unnecessary. Masks start to slip. People become aware of their own inconsistencies, and that can make them uncomfortable. You're not trying to challenge them. Your awareness simply reflects truths they haven't faced yet. You don't rush into decisions anymore. You understand that reacting quickly often leads to regret. Instead, you give yourself time to process, to feel, and to think things through. This patience has become one of your greatest strengths. It allows you to choose paths that align with who you are, not just what's convenient in the moment. Your wisdom also shows in how you handle relationships. You no longer chase validation or approval. You know that real connection comes from mutual respect, not effort alone. If someone doesn't meet you with the same level of honesty or care, you quietly step back. There's no drama, no resentment, just understanding. People sometimes mistake your calm nature for distance or coldness, but it's neither. It's discernment. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Protecting your peace doesn't make you closed off. It makes you self-aware. What sets you apart is not that you know everything. It's that you've learned how to listen to yourself, to life, to the lessons hidden in both joy and hardship. That kind of wisdom can't be taught or rushed. It's earned through experience, reflection, and growth. And that's why people sense something different about you. Your presence carries depth. Your words carry meaning. You move through life with quiet confidence, guided not by impulse, but by understanding. You are not older in years. You are older in wisdom. And that wisdom shapes everything you touch. You were protected for a reason. You were protected for a reason, even during moments when it didn't feel that way. There were situations that could have broken you, moments that could have completely changed the direction of your life. Yet somehow, you came out intact, not untouched, but preserved, not unaffected, but still standing. And that wasn't luck. It was purpose. There were times when chaos surrounded you. Others around you fell apart, lost themselves, or made choices that changed their lives forever. But you were quietly guided away from certain paths. Doors closed that you once wanted to walk through. Opportunities slipped away that later revealed themselves to be traps. At the time, it may have felt confusing or unfair. But now, looking back, you can see that what didn't happen was just as important as what did. You were protected not because you were perfect, but because your journey required clarity. Some experiences would have distracted you, hardened you, or pulled you too far off course, so life stepped in, not to punish you, but to preserve you. What missed you wasn't a loss. It was a redirection. There were moments when you questioned why things didn't work out the way you hoped, why certain doors stayed closed, why certain people drifted away. But now you can see that those endings created space. Space for growth, space for understanding, space for becoming someone stronger, calmer, and more aware. While others were being consumed by chaos, you were being quietly guided towards stability. not because you were better than them, but because your path required a different kind of strength. You needed clarity, you needed grounding, you needed time to develop depth instead of speed. What's powerful is that you didn't even realize you were being protected at the time. You simply kept moving forward, trusting your instincts even when things didn't make sense. You learned to listen to your inner voice. You learned to step back when something felt off, and that awareness saved you more times than you may ever fully realize. Now, when you look back, you can see patterns. You can see how certain situations could have broken your spirit if you had stayed. You can see how certain people were meant to pass through your life, not stay in it. What once felt like rejection now looks like redirection. You were preserved because what lies ahead requires clarity, balance, and emotional strength. You couldn't carry unnecessary wounds into the next chapter. You needed to arrive whole, not shattered, and that's the truth. You weren't spared because you were weak. You were protected because you were meant for something that required you to stay intact. Everything that missed you for a reason. And now, you're standing here, stronger, wiser, and ready for what comes next. Your growth happened quietly, but powerfully. Your growth happened quietly, almost unnoticed at first. You didn't make announcements. You didn't post about every realization or seek applause for your healing. You simply changed, slowly, steadily, and from the inside out. While others were busy explaining themselves or trying to be seen, you were becoming someone new without needing recognition. You didn't feel the need to prove anything. You let your actions shift naturally as your understanding deepened. Old habits fell away without struggle. Old reactions softened. You started responding instead of reacting. And while no one clapped for that progress, it was one of the most powerful transformations you could have made. People often expect growth to be loud, dramatic changes, bold declarations, visible confidence. But your growth was quiet. It happened in small decisions, choosing peace over arguments, choosing patience over impulse, choosing reflection over reaction. Those small choices reshaped you more than any public breakthrough ever could. As you changed, your energy changed too. You became more grounded, more present, more comfortable in your own skin. And people noticed, even if they couldn't explain what felt different. When you entered a room, the atmosphere shifted slightly. Not because you demanded attention, but because you carried a calm certainty that stood out naturally. Some people couldn't name what felt different about you, but they felt it. Conversations felt different. Interactions felt deeper or quieter. Your presence created a sense of pause, and for those who were used to noise, chaos, or control, that calm felt unfamiliar, even unsettling. You didn't need to say you had changed. The way you listened, the way you responded, the way you carried yourself said everything. You were no longer trying to prove your worth. You were no longer chasing approval. You simply knew who you were becoming, and that inner knowing shaped how you moved through the world. What makes this kind of growth powerful is that it doesn't seek attention. It doesn't demand recognition. It stands steady, whether it's noticed or not, and that's why it affects others so deeply. When someone sees you grounded in yourself, it reflects what they haven't yet learned to do. Some people feel inspired by your presence. Others feel uncomfortable. Both reactions make sense. Growth has a way of revealing truth, not through words, but through energy. You don't have to explain yourself anymore. Your presence does the talking. The most powerful part is this: you didn't change to impress anyone. You changed because it was necessary for your peace. And now, without trying, you influence the room simply by being who you are. That's the kind of growth that lasts. Quiet, steady, unshakable. They thought you were behind, but you were being prepared. They thought you were behind. While others seemed to move faster, achieve more, or reach certain milestones earlier, it looked like you were standing still. People assumed you were late, confused, or falling behind, but what they couldn't see was what was actually happening beneath the surface. You weren't delayed, you were being prepared. While others rushed forward, you were learning patience. You were learning to sit with uncertainty without losing yourself. You were learning to listen instead of rushing into decisions that didn't align with who you truly are. That kind of preparation doesn't look impressive from the outside, but it builds something strong on the inside. You weren't meant to move at everyone else's pace. Your path required deeper understanding, not speed. If you had arrived too early, you wouldn't have been ready to handle what came with it. You needed time to develop clarity, resilience, and self-trust. Every pause had a purpose, even when it felt frustrating or confusing. While others chased opportunities without knowing why, you were learning to recognize what truly belongs to you. You began to understand the difference between what looks good and what feels right. That awareness didn't come overnight. It was built through experiences that taught you discernment, knowing when to say yes, and more importantly, when to walk away. You also learned patience with yourself. Instead of forcing progress, you allowed growth to happen naturally. You learned that not everything meant for you would arrive quickly, and not every delay was a denial. Some seasons exist only to prepare you for what's next, even if they feel uncomfortable at the time. Now, when opportunities appear, you don't rush toward them blindly. You pause, you listen to your instincts. You evaluate whether something aligns with your values, your peace, and your long-term direction. That ability is a form of wisdom many people never develop. What once felt like being left behind has revealed itself as protection. You were spared from paths that would have drained you. You avoided lessons you didn't need to learn the hard way. The timing that once frustrated you now makes sense. People may look at you now and wonder how you became so grounded, so clear, so sure of yourself. They don't realize the patience it took to get here. They don't see the quiet work you did when no one was watching. You weren't late, you weren't lost, you were being shaped, and now, when the right opportunities come, you're ready. Not rushed, not desperate, but aligned. That's the power of being prepared rather than hurried. This is the moment they realize who you are. This is the moment when everything becomes clear. The moment when people finally start to see what they once overlooked. For a long time, they underestimated you. They assumed you were quiet because you lacked confidence, or gentle because you didn't know how to stand your ground. But now, something has shifted. The truth is settling in. You were never small. You were growing in silence. While others were busy judging from the outside, you were changing from within. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You weren't chasing attention or approval. You were becoming stronger in ways that didn't need validation. And now that inner strength is visible. Not because you announced it, but because it naturally shows through your presence. There's a calm about you now that didn't exist before. A steadiness. You move with purpose instead of urgency. You speak with clarity instead of emotion. That alone makes people pause. They can feel the difference, even if they can't explain it. You no longer need to convince anyone of your worth. Your energy does the talking. People who once underestimated you are starting to feel it. They sense the shift. The person they thought they understood no longer fits the version they had in their minds. And that's uncomfortable for them. It forces them to realize that they misjudged you, that they overlooked your depth, your growth, and your quiet strength. You don't need to defend yourself or explain how far you've come. Your actions now carry a quiet confidence. You listen more than you speak. You observe before reacting. And when you do speak, your words carry weight. That's not arrogance. It's self-assurance earned through experience. What's powerful is that you didn't change to prove anyone wrong. You changed because life shaped you, because lessons taught you patience, because challenges forced you to grow, and because you chose awareness over resentment. That kind of growth doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself naturally over time. Now people sense something different when you walk into a room. It's not loud. It's not demanding. It's presence. A grounded, steady presence that doesn't seek approval. You no longer need to explain your journey or justify your path. Those who understand will feel it. Those who don't were never meant to walk beside you anyway. This is the stage where recognition happens quietly, where respect replaces doubt, where your silence carries more weight than words ever could. You're not trying to be seen anymore, and that's exactly why people see you now. You didn't rush this moment. You grew into it. And now, as the truth settles in for everyone else, you simply stand in who you've become, calm, clear, and unshaken.